Hey guys, tonight we are going to drift into a world of exquisite art and brutal honor, a place of serene gardens and flashing steel. We are traveling to feudal Japan. Imagine, for a moment, the pre-dawn mist clinging to the sides of a steep valley, the air smelling of damp earth and cedar. The only sound is the distant, resonant boom of a temple bell, echoing through the profound quiet. It's a beautiful, calming image. But as a quick reality check, you'd probably find that beautiful, profound quiet is ruined by the fact your house is made of paper. You can hear your neighbors snoring, and your only source of heat is a hole in the floor that's constantly trying to kill you with smoke. It was a different time, one that valued aesthetics over insulation. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your quiet support is the lifeblood of this channel. And as always, I'd love to see where in the world you're listening from. So please feel free to post your location and local time in the comments below. It's a joy to see this little community of ours stretching across the night. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is the cold. It's not an aggressive, biting cold, but a deep, damp chill that seems to radiate upwards from the very ground itself. You are lying on a futon, which is less of a mattress and more of a thin, padded suggestion of comfort laid directly upon the floor. You pull the rough quilt up to your chin and open your eyes. The world is a soft, uniform gray. The light filtering into the room is pale and weak, diffused by the paper of the shoji screens that serve as the walls of your home. These sliding screens, a lattice of wood covered in translucent paper, are elegant and beautiful, but they offer the same thermal insulation as a light t-shirt and the soundproofing of, well, a piece of paper. Privacy is a concept that has not yet been invented for people of your class. Your entire life has the acoustic properties of a library where everyone whispers, but you can still hear every single rustle and cough. Your home is a minka, a traditional farmhouse. It is a masterpiece of natural materials and stark simplicity. The frame is made of dark, heavy timber beams, expertly joined without the use of nails. The towering roof above you is a thick, steep thatch of straw, which smells earthy and smoky and is home to a whole ecosystem of spiders and insects. The house is built around a central, hard-packed earthen floor called the doma. This is your kitchen, your workshop, and the general entrance hall. It's where muddy sandals are left, vegetables are chopped, and water is hauled in from the nearby well. The main living space is a raised platform of dark, polished wood, just a foot or so above the doma. If your family is prosperous, this area might be covered with tatami, thick, woven straw mats that are surprisingly comfortable underfoot and give off a clean, grassy scent. There is almost no furniture. Life is lived on the floor. In the morning, you will fold up your futon and store it in a deep cupboard called an oshier, instantly transforming the bedroom into a living room. All your worldly possessions are stored in chests or cupboards, leaving the space open and uncluttered. As you sit up, you can hear the rest of your family beginning to stir, the soft rustle of their own quilts, a quiet cough from your father. Heat comes from the orori, a sunken hearth in the center of the main room's floor. It's your kitchen stove, your central heating, and your main source of light, all rolled into one smoky, hazardous hole in the floor. A small fire of wood or charcoal smolders there, with a pot hanging over it from an adjustable hook suspended from the rafters. In the winter, for a bit of personal warmth, your family might gather around a kotatsu. This is a low wooden table with a charcoal brazier placed underneath, and a heavy quilt draped over the top to trap the warmth. You and your family would sit on the floor, tucking your legs under the quilt, feeling the precious heat seep into your bones. Looking around your simple home, with its clean lines, natural textures, and lack of ornamentation, you might see a kind of beauty in its minimalism. Architectural historians still debate whether the rustic design of the minka was purely a result of functional necessity and the limited materials available to farmers, or if it was also subtly influenced by the sophisticated Zen Buddhist aesthetics of simplicity, wabi-sabi, that trickled down from the temples and palaces. Was your home simple because it had to be, or because simplicity itself was seen as a virtue? Running along the side of the house that faces the small garden is a narrow wooden porch, the ingawa. It is a space that is neither fully inside nor fully outside, a place to sit on a warm day, to mend a tool, or to simply watch the rain fall. It is the boundary between your small, human world and the vast, green world of nature outside. But for now, it is too cold for the Ngawa. You remain huddled under your quilt, listening to the house wake up, gathering the will to face the cold floor and begin another day in feudal Japan. The cold always wins. You finally push aside the quilt, a small cloud of your own warm breath vanishing in the chill air. The floorboards are smooth but icy beneath your bare feet as you rise. You move to a simple wooden chest where your clothes are stored. They are not many. You pull on a pair of loose-fitting trousers and a simple wrap-fronted shirt, all made of a coarse, brownish fabric. It might be hemp, or perhaps a rough, homespun cotton. This simple act of getting dressed is your first and most important reminder of who you are. The clothes are not a choice, they are a uniform, and they announce your place in the unshakable order of the world. You live within a rigid social structure, a four-tiered system that governs every interaction of your life. This framework, inspired by Confucian ideals, is known as the Shinokosho. At the very top are the shi, the samurai. They are the warriors, the rulers, the nobility. They do not toil or create things with their hands. Their purpose is to govern and to fight, to maintain order through the sharp edge of their power. Below them, in theory, is you. You belong to the no, the farmers. You are the second class, the foundation upon which the entire nation rests. In the grand philosophy of the realm, you are respected, even revered, because you produce the rice that is the measure of all wealth. You are the backbone of Japan. This is a lovely idea, in theory. In practice, it mostly means you are the one who does all the work and gives half of what you grow to the people with swords. Below you are the other two classes. The ko are the artisans, the carpenters, the potters, the weavers. They are considered less essential than you because they create things for comfort or beauty, not the raw sustenance of life itself. And at the very bottom of the ladder are the sho, the merchants. In the official mindset of the era, merchants are seen as a necessary evil, almost parasitic. They do not make anything, they simply move goods from one place to another, profiting from the labor of others. Their wealth is suspect, and their social standing is the lowest of the four main classes. But this neat, four-tiered pyramid leaves out a crucial group. Below everyone, existing outside the system entirely, are the outcasts, the 8-hour barakamen as they would later be called. These are people whose occupations are considered unclean by Buddhist and Shinto belief. They are the butchers, the tanners who work with animal hides, the executioners, and those who handle the dead. They are forced to live in their own separate hamlets, are not allowed to marry outside their group, and are treated by mainstream society as if they are not quite human. Their existence is a stark and constant reminder that no matter how hard your own life is, there are always others who are lower on the ladder. Historians still debate how strictly the Shinokosho system was enforced in the day-to-day reality of feudal Japan. Was it an ironclad, unbreachable set of caste-like divisions, with no hope of ever changing your fate? Or was it more of a social guideline, a formal ideology that was often blurred by the practicalities of life? A wealthy merchant, for instance, might be officially at the bottom of the social ladder, but his sacks of coin could buy him influence and a level of comfort you, a theoretically superior farmer, could never dream of. Sometimes, a poor samurai family might even adopt a rich merchant's son to gain access to his wealth. The lines, on the ground, were not always as clear as they were on paper. For you, however, the lines are perfectly clear. Your life is a continuous performance of your status. You know precisely how low you must bow when the village headman walks by. You know to avert your eyes and step off the path, pressing yourself against a wall if a samurai approaches. Your entire life is a complex performance of humility. You've perfected the art of looking at the ground as if it's the most fascinating thing you've ever seen, especially when men with swords are nearby. The very way you speak, the words you use, the honorifics you must attach to the names of your superiors, is a constant reinforcement of your place. You are a farmer, the foundation of the nation, the salt of the earth, and also, the person who gets to give more than half of everything they grow to someone else and be profoundly grateful for the opportunity. Dressed now in your uniform of coarse hemp, you are ready to go and perform your vital, back-breaking, and deeply respected role. You step out of the house, leaving the smoky warmth of the aurora behind. The morning air is crisp and clean, carrying the scent of damp earth and the distant green smell of the mountains that loom over your small village. Your world is a patchwork of flooded squares, a shimmering chessboard of rice paddies that covers the valley floor, each one separated by a narrow earthen dike. From a distance, it is a landscape of breathtaking beauty and order. Up close, where you stand, it is simply the site of your life's work, a place of endless, aching toil. Your entire existence, and indeed the entire economy of Japan, is built on the cultivation of rice. But this is not a simple matter of scattering seeds and waiting. It is a year-long cycle of back-breaking labor that follows a rhythm as old as the mountains themselves. It begins in the spring. You and your family will first prepare a small nursery bed, planting the precious rice seeds in a dense, protected patch. As these grow into bright green seedlings, the real work starts. You must transplant them into the main paddies, which have been plowed and flooded with cold, murky water. This is not a job for a machine. It is a job for your hands and your back. You spend days, weeks, bent at the waist, your bare feet sinking into the cold, silty mud, taking each individual seedling and pushing its roots into the paddy floor. You work in a line with your family and neighbors, a slow, methodical procession of bowed heads and aching spines. Your primary farm implement is your own back. It's a versatile tool, used for bending, lifting, and aching, and it comes with a lifetime warranty of constant complaining. As summer arrives, the work changes, but it does not lessen. The sun beats down, and the humidity rises from the stagnant water of the paddies. Now, you must weed. Bent over again, you wade through the fields, your hands searching under the water for the unwelcome shoots of other plants that would steal nutrients from your precious rice. You must also manage the intricate irrigation system, opening and closing small wooden sluice gates to ensure the water in your paddy is always at the perfect depth, not too deep to drown the young plants, not too shallow to let the weeds flourish. You develop a deep, personal relationship with mud. You know its different smells, its textures, and the unique way it can suck a sandal right off your foot. You're basically a mud connoisseur. Finally, autumn comes. The rice stalks are tall and heavy with grain, their heads bowed, turning the valley a solid, beautiful gold. After draining the paddies, you take up a small, curved hand sickle and begin the harvest. Again, you are bent over, swinging the sickle in a steady, rhythmic motion. Swish, grasp, cut. Swish, grasp, cut. The sound fills the valley for weeks. The cut stalks are bundled and hung to dry on wooden racks set up in the fields. But the work isn't over. In the early winter, you must thresh the dried rice, beating the stalks against a slatted wooden frame to release the grains. Then comes the winnowing, using a wide, flat basket to toss the grain into the air, letting the wind carry away the lighter chaff. It is only then, after a full year of labor, that you have the small, perfect grains of rice that are the currency of your world. And it is a currency that is heavily taxed. The local lord, the daimyo, sends a samurai official to your village before the harvest. This official performs the kenshi, or land survey. He paces out your fields, assesses the quality of your crop as it stands, and makes a calculation in his notebook. Based on this estimate, he determines your tax, which is often 40 to 50% of your total yield. This tax is absolute. If a typhoon damages your crop or pests devour a portion of it after the assessment, that is your problem. You still owe what the official said you owed. Economic historians still debate whether this system of high-tax, intensive rice agriculture was a brutally efficient model for supporting the large, non-producing samurai class, or if it was actually a deeply flawed and oppressive system that kept the peasantry in a state of perpetual poverty, always just one bad harvest away from famine. You don't know about economic models. You just know the quiet terror of watching the samurai make his calculations, and the ache in your bones that is your constant companion from spring planting to winter threshing. The upside of spending all day bent over is that you have an excellent view of your own feet. You've watched them age in real time. It's like a very slow, very depressing nature documentary. This is your life. This is your work. The rice you grow, the rice that breaks your back and fills your waking hours, is not primarily for you. It is for them. As you work in the paddy, you see two figures walking along the main path that winds through the valley. You don't need to see them clearly to know who they are. Their posture, their pace, and the simple fact that they are walking on the main path without carrying a load, tells you everything. They are samurai. From your place in the mud, they look like beings from another world. Their kimonos are not the dull brown of a farmer's hemp, but are made of fine, dyed silk that seems to shimmer even in the flat light. Their hair is oiled and pulled back into a neat topknot, a chanmage, a style forbidden to commoners. But your eyes are drawn, as always, to their waists. Tucked into their sashes are the two swords, the daisho, the undeniable symbol of their rank and their power. The long, curved katana, and the shorter companion blade, the wakizashi. These are not tools. They are the instruments of a power so absolute it shapes every moment of your life. As they draw nearer, a cold, familiar knot forms in your stomach. You and the other farmers in the nearby paddies stop your work immediately. You move to the edge of the paddy, climb onto the earthen dike, and sink to your knees. You perform the dagiza, the deepest bow of deference, your hands flat on the ground before you, your forehead lowered to touch the dirt. You become one with the mud. It's a skill you've perfected. For these few moments, you are not a person, but a humble, human-shaped lump of earth who has suddenly developed a profound interest in the activities of a nearby beetle. You remain like this, motionless and silent, because you are keenly aware of a legal right held by the samurai class called Kiri Suit Gomen. It translates, chillingly, to permission to cut down and leave. This is the right of a samurai to strike down a commoner who has failed to show proper respect or who has insulted them, however slightly. A word spoken out of turn, a glance held for a second too long, a failure to bow quickly or low enough, any of these could be interpreted as a capital offense, to be punished instantly. Now, it is not a license for wanton murder. The act would have to be justified to a superior later. But the key is that the justification rests on the samurai's perception of being dishonored. And you have no interest in finding out what this particular samurai's perception might be today. The two swords they carry are a constant reminder of their warrior code. The long katana is the soul of the samurai, his primary weapon for open combat. But the shorter wakizashi has a dual purpose. It is a sidearm for fighting in closer quarters, inside a building where the katana would be too long to draw effectively. But it is also the blade designated for the ritual of seppuku, or belly cutting. The fact that a samurai carries, at all times, a dedicated weapon for both killing his enemies and for taking his own life with excruciating ceremony, tells you everything you need to know about the severity of their world. Historians and legal scholars still debate how frequently Kiri Suit Gomen was actually invoked. Was it a common terror, with peasants being cut down on a weekly basis? Or was it an extreme and rarely used legal right, a sort of nuclear option, where the constant threat of it was a far more effective tool of social control than its actual use? You don't know the statistics. You just know the fear is real, and it is absolute. Of course, their life is also one of immense pressure. They are bound by the rigid code of Bushido, the way of the warrior, which demands absolute loyalty to their lord, the daimyo. A mistake in battle, a breach of etiquette, a failure in their duties could lead to disgrace, exile, or an order to commit seppuku. It's a stressful world for everyone. You worry about a bad harvest. They worry about their lord telling them to politely disembowel themselves for using the wrong kind of teacup. It's all about perspective. You hear the soft crunch of their sandals on the path, and then the sound fades into the distance. After a few moments of profound silence, you dare to lift your head. They are gone. Slowly, stiffly, you rise to your feet, your knees and forehead smeared with mud. The immediate danger has passed, and you can return to the much more familiar, slow-motion danger of your aching back. You almost prefer it. The shadow of the samurai has receded for now, but it never truly disappears. It looms over the entire valley, a constant, quiet reminder of your place. The sun climbs higher in the sky, burning the morning mist off the mountainsides. The memory of the samurai encounter fades, replaced by the more immediate demands of your stomach. A sharp, hollow ache begins to grow, a familiar feeling that signals the midday meal. You don't leave the fields. You simply straighten your back, a series of painful clicks echoing the movement, and find a dry spot on one of the dikes to sit. Your wife or mother soon arrives, walking with the careful, balanced gait of someone carrying precious cargo. She brings your lunch in a simple wooden box. You open it. Inside is the fuel for the rest of your day, and it is a profound disappointment. The main component, filling most of the container, is a dense, grayish mass of cooked grain. And here lies one of the great ironies of your existence. You, a rice farmer, rarely eat good rice. The beautiful, white, polished rice that you so painstakingly cultivate is a cash crop. It is a form of currency, a commodity used to pay your crushing taxes to the Lord. It is the food of the samurai, the priests, and the wealthy. What you eat is a concoction known as kokomotsu, a mixture of cheaper, hardier grains. It might be millet, barley, or buckwheat, boiled to a thick, stodgy mass, with a small amount of broken, low-quality rice mixed in to make it stretch. It's rice-ish. It has the general texture of rice, if that rice had been through a long, depressing period of its life and had completely given up on its dreams. It is bland, it is mushy, but it is filling, and right now, that is the only quality that matters. Alongside the grains are the okazu, the side dishes that make the meal remotely palatable. There is a small portion of a thin, watery soup, likely made from fermented soybean paste, miso, with a few wilted greens floating in it. There might be a few slices of boiled daikon radish, pulled from your family's small kitchen garden. The star of the show, the source of almost all the flavor, is a small pile of tsukemono, or pickles. Salty, crunchy, brightly colored pickled vegetables that have been preserved in salt or rice bran. The sharp, intense flavor of a pickled radish cuts through the monotony of the bland grains, a small explosion of taste in a sea of nothingness. Your diet consists of three main flavors: salty, from the pickles and miso; bland, from the grains; and occasionally, green. It's not a culinary adventure, it's a culinary truce. Protein is a rare and celebrated guest at this meal. Buddhist beliefs discourage the eating of meat, and in any case, livestock is far too valuable as a work animal to be considered food. You might have a small, salted fish if your village is near the coast or a major river, but here in your inland valley, fish is a memory of a rare festival day. Your protein comes from the soybeans in your miso and the occasional block of tofu. To supplement this meager diet, you rely on foraging. In the spring, you might gather tender bamboo shoots, takenoko, or the coiled fronds of young ferns, called warabi, from the mountainsides. These would be carefully boiled to remove their bitterness and added to your soups, providing a different texture and a hint of wild, green flavor. This constant search for edible wild plants is essential for survival, adding vital nutrients to a diet that would otherwise be dangerously monotonous. Historians and nutritional anthropologists still debate the overall health of the Japanese peasantry during this era. On the one hand, this diet, low in fat and meat, high in fiber and complex carbohydrates, protected you from many of the diseases of affluence that plagued wealthier societies. On the other hand, the constant lack of sufficient calories, vitamins, and protein likely led to widespread, low-level malnutrition, resulting in stunted growth and a brutally high rate of infant mortality. Were you a model of wiry, resilient health, or were you perpetually hovering on the edge of starvation? The answer, most likely, is both. You look at the simple meal in your wooden box. You have successfully converted months of your own back-breaking labor into a small portion of gray mush and a single pickled radish. It feels like a profoundly unfair magical trick. But you eat every last grain, because in a few minutes, you must return to the patty. This food is not for pleasure. It is fuel, the bare minimum required to power the human machine that grows the food for everyone else. You finish your meal, take a long drink of cool water from a gourd, and get back to work. As you work, your world is not just mud and water and rice stalks. You look up, past the fields, to the mountains that surround your valley. They are draped in a thick cloak of dark green cedar and pine, their peaks often lost in a swirl of low-hanging cloud. To a modern eye, it is a beautiful, empty wilderness. To you, it is a place that is crowded, watchful, and alive. Your world is humming with gods. This is the world of Shinto, the ancient, native faith of Japan. It is a faith that sees the divine in the natural world. These are not just mountains, they are the home of a powerful mountain god, a kami, who can bring life-giving rains or destructive landslides. The river that feeds your patties has its own kami. The spectacular waterfall that tumbles down the mountainside is a kami. That ancient, gnarled camphor tree at the edge of the village, the one with a thick rope of woven straw tied around its trunk, is also a kami. Your relationship with these forces is one of careful, respectful negotiation. You leave small offerings, a handful of rice, a cup of sake if you can spare it, at the simple wooden shrine that stands at the entrance to the village. You bow your head when you pass the ancient tree. You are a guest in their world, and it is wise to be a polite one. But the kami are not the only divine beings you concern yourself with. At the other end of the village, on a small hill, stands the Buddhist temple. It is a different world from the rustic Shinto shrine. Its wooden beams may be more ornate, its roof tiled, its entrance guarded by fierce-looking statues. Inside, the air is thick with the sweet, heady scent of incense, and in the dim light, you can see the serene, gilded face of the Buddha and his attendants, the Bodhisattvas. For you, these two faiths are not in conflict. They are a perfectly blended spiritual toolkit for navigating the complexities of life and death. It's a bit like having two different kinds of specialists. You turn to the local Shinto kami for the immediate earthly concerns, a good harvest, the health of your family, protection from floods. They are the landlords of the physical world you inhabit. But you turn to Buddhism for the great, existential questions. The Buddhist priest presides over funerals, teaching you that this life of suffering is temporary, and offering hope of a better rebirth or eventual salvation in the Pure Land. Shinto is for living, Buddhism is for dying, and for what comes after. This blend is everywhere. As you walk the paths between villages, you often see small stone statues by the roadside, sometimes in groups of 6. These are statues of Jizo, a Buddhist bodhisattva who is one of the most beloved figures in Japanese folk religion. He is the protector of travelers, of children, and of the souls of the dead. Grieving mothers will often tie a small red bib or place a little knitted cap on a Jizo statue, offerings made in the hope that he will guide the spirit of their lost child. It is a tender, heartbreaking gesture, a perfect example of how the grand, philosophical ideas of Buddhism are woven into the intimate, personal fabric of your daily life. Religious historians continue to debate the dynamic between these two faiths. Was it a true, harmonious syncretism, a blending where local Shinto kami came to be seen as manifestations, or avatars, of various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Or was it more of a stacking, where Buddhism, with its complex written scriptures, state support, and sophisticated philosophy, formed a dominant layer on top of a resilient but ultimately subordinate layer of local folk belief? You are not a theologian. You don't worry about the doctrinal inconsistencies. Your approach to religion is simple. Be polite to everyone, especially the invisible ones who can control the weather or your eternal destiny. In a corner of your small house, you have a kamadana, a god shelf, where you make small daily offerings to the Shinto spirits. Tucked inside your kimono might be a small, embroidered cloth pouch called an omamori, a protective charm from the Buddhist temple. You are covering all your bases. Your spiritual life is busy. You've got local gods to thank for the rain, mountain gods to appease so they don't cause a landslide, and the Buddha to petition so you don't get reborn as a dung beetle. It is a complex world, but one rich with meaning, where every rock, every river, and every passing moment is connected to a vast, unseen spiritual reality. But all the prayers to all the gods in the world cannot always protect you from a simpler, more intimate enemy, the failings of your own body. One evening, after a long day of work in the cold, wet paddies, you feel it begin. A deep, unshakable chill that has nothing to do with the temperature of the air. An ache settles into your bones, and a dry, rasping cough begins to catch in your throat. You have fallen ill. In your world, there are no doctors as we would know them. There are no gleaming clinics or white-coated physicians. Your first line of defense is the accumulated wisdom of your own family, passed down through generations. Your mother or your wife becomes your healer. She will feel your forehead, look at your tongue, and listen to the sound of your cough before going to a small wooden chest where she keeps her pharmacopoeia, a collection of dried leaves, gnarled roots, strange-looking fungi, and strips of bark gathered from the mountainsides. This is the world of Kampo, the traditional system of herbal medicine adapted from classical Chinese sources. You don't know the complex theories behind it, the intricate balance of yin and yang, or the 5 elements. But you know what works. You know that a hot tea made with ginger root can help with a cold, or that a certain type of mushroom can soothe an upset stomach. Your mother prepares a decoction for you, boiling a handful of carefully selected herbs in an earthenware pot over the arori. The resulting liquid is dark, steaming, and smells like boiled dirt and disappointment. The rule of thumb for medicine in your time is simple. If it tastes truly, spectacularly awful, it is almost certainly working. You drink it down, grimacing, and trust in its power. If the herbal tea isn't enough, the next step might be a more direct intervention. For the deep ache in your back, you might receive a treatment of okyu or moxibustion. Your mother takes a pinch of dried mugwort, a common leafy herb, and rolls it between her fingers into a tiny, dense cone. She then places this little cone directly onto a specific point on your skin, perhaps on your lower back or shoulder. Then, with a lit taper, she sets the tip of the cone on fire. It doesn't burst into flame, but smolders slowly, like incense. As it burns down, the heat intensifies, from a pleasant warmth to a sharp, piercing heat that feels like a hot needle sinking into your muscle. Just before it burns your skin, she snuffs it out. The treatment involves someone putting what looks like a tiny pile of lint on your back and setting it on fire. It's a unique approach to wellness. You can't be sure if it's healing you, or if you're just so distracted by the smell of your own smoldering skin that you forget you were sick. The theory is that this focused heat stimulates the flow of qi, your body's life energy, clearing blockages and restoring balance. Medical historians and practitioners of traditional medicine still debate the mechanisms behind these ancient therapies. Is the effectiveness of Campo purely due to the verifiable pharmacological properties of the herbs being used? Or does the holistic approach, considering the patient's diet, emotional state, and lifestyle, play a more significant, if less measurable, role? With a practice like moxibustion, is there a genuine physiological effect from the heat stimulating nerve endings and blood flow, or is its power largely derived from a profound placebo effect, amplified by the intense sensory ritual and the patient's absolute belief in its efficacy? You don't have a diagnosis like the flu or the common cold. Your ailment would be described in more poetic terms. You might have a wind-cold invasion or an excessive dampness in the lungs. The diagnosis sounds much more mystical, but the shivering and coughing feel exactly the same. You put your faith in these ancient remedies because they are all you have. For minor illnesses, they are often surprisingly effective, but you are also keenly aware of their limits. Against the great plagues, like smallpox, or a simple cut that becomes infected, these remedies are powerless. In this world before antibiotics, a small injury can easily become a death sentence. For now, you huddle under your quilt, sipping your bitter tea, the faint, circular red marks of the moxa treatment on your back, and you hope that your body, with this herbal encouragement, is strong enough to find its own way back to health. After a day or two of rest, bitter teas, and the lingering scent of burnt mugwort, your fever breaks. The deep chill leaves your bones, and the world slowly comes back into focus. You are weak, sweat-soaked, and feel a profound need to be clean, to wash away the grime of sickness and feel human again. In a life of constant labor and few comforts, the Japanese bath is not a luxury. It is a vital and deeply ingrained ritual. It is a small slice of paradise. Cleanliness, in your world, is more than just a matter of hygiene. It is a spiritual concept, deeply rooted in Shinto beliefs about purity and pollution. The act of washing is a form of purification, a way to rinse off not just the dirt of the fields, but the spiritual grime of exhaustion, sickness, or misfortune. And so, the bath you are about to take is as much for your soul as it is for your body. If your family is moderately well off for farmers, you may have your own private bath, and a furrow. It is not a porcelain tub in a dedicated room, but a deep, round wooden barrel or a square tub made of fragrant cypress wood, kept in a wash area near the back of the house. The process of using it is governed by a strict and important etiquette. First, you collect buckets of water, heating them over the fire and pouring them into the tub until it is full. But you do not get in. Beside the tub, you sit on a small wooden stool. Using a bucket and a rough cloth, you meticulously wash yourself. You scrub away every trace of dirt, sweat, and sickness. You rinse yourself completely. Only when you are thoroughly clean do you approach the tub itself. The bath is not for washing, it is for soaking. You slide the wooden lid off and lower yourself into the steaming, almost scaldingly hot water. The heat is a shock at first, but then it sinks deep into your muscles, chasing away the last of the aches from your fever and the memory of the cold paddy fields. As you sit there, submerged to your neck, you feel your soul being gently poached back to a state of calm. For the first time in what feels like forever, your back doesn't ache. It's a small miracle worthy of its own shrine. Because heating this much water is a laborious process, the entire family will use the same bath water. The order is determined by seniority. First your grandfather, then your father, then you, and so on down the line. Because everyone washes scrupulously before entering, the water in the tub remains clean for everyone. It's a system of hierarchical soaking. By the time it's your turn, the water might be a little less hot and has been pre-seasoned by other family members, but it's still a moment of unparalleled bliss. If your family doesn't have a private FEUDAL, you would go to the village cento, the public bathhouse. It is one of the great centers of community life. Inside, it is a steamy, noisy, cheerful world of naked bodies and echoing chatter. Here, the same rules apply on a larger scale. You scrub yourself clean in the washing area before entering the large, communal soaking pools. The public bath is the village social club, but with significantly less clothing. You catch up on all the local news, the price of radishes, and the latest gossip, all while enjoying the bliss of the hot water. In these early days, many of these bathhouses are mixed gender, a casual custom that would deeply shock foreign visitors centuries later. Sociologists and historians still debate the primary driver behind the immense popularity of communal bathing in Japan. Was it a purely practical solution for a population that largely lacked private bathing facilities? Or was its main function a social one, a deliberately fostered community space that helped build neighborhood solidarity and reinforce a cultural emphasis on group harmony, a concept that would later be described as skinship? As you finish your soak, you feel reborn. The fatigue and sickness have been washed and steamed away. You emerge from the bath, your skin red and tingling from the heat, feeling lighter and cleaner than you have in weeks. In a world of hardship, this simple ritual of hot water provides a moment of profound peace, a temporary escape where the anxieties of work, taxes, and samurai fade away into the steam. The feeling of peace from the bath lingers as the day ends. The sun dips below the jagged peaks of the western mountains, and a profound darkness, an ink-black nothingness unknown in our modern world, begins to pool in the valley. Inside your home, the warm, dancing light from the aurora, the sunken hearth, pushes back against the shadows that press in against the thin paper walls. Your family gathers around the fire, the work of the day finally done. And as the fire crackles, another world, which lies just beneath the surface of this one, begins to stir. This is the time for stories. You already know that your world is filled with the spirits of nature, the kami. But as night falls, other, less predictable entities emerge. These are the yokai, a term that covers a vast and bewildering array of supernatural monsters, demons, goblins, and mischievous spirits. To you, these are not just fairy tales. They are a field guide to the unseen world, a bestiary of things that lurk just beyond the circle of the firelight. Your grandfather might tell a story of the kappa, the reptilian river imps with a water-filled dish on their heads, who love cucumbers but are known to drown unwary travelers. You are reminded never to swim alone in the deep parts of the river. He might speak of the proud and powerful tengu, the bird-like mountain goblins, master swordsmen who are known to kidnap arrogant priests and start forest fires with their magical fans. The stories are not always terrifying. There are also tales of the tanuki, the shape-shifting raccoon dog, a trickster figure known for his love of sake, his potbelly, and his general talent for causing harmless, comical chaos. Your world has a much more interesting explanation for everyday problems. A misplaced tool wasn't your fault, it was probably a mischievous yokai. It's a fantastic system for avoiding personal responsibility. Distinct from the often monstrous yokai are the yurei, the ghosts of the dead. These are not just vague, spooky specters. In the stories you hear, a yurei is almost always the spirit of someone who has died a violent or unjust death, their soul held to the mortal world by a single, powerful emotion, a burning desire for vengeance. You know the classic image of a yurei from countless tales, a woman, dressed in the white kimono she was buried in, her long black hair uncombed and hanging over her face, her hands dangling limply from her wrists. Sometimes, the storytellers say, they have no feet, floating just above the ground. The moral of every ghost story is incredibly clear. Do not, under any circumstances, be a terrible person, because your victim will almost certainly come back as a stringy-haired, terrifying ghost with a grudge, and they will not be interested in your apology. Folklorists and psychologists still debate the primary social function of these stories. Were they simple, boogeyman tales, meant to explain strange phenomena like a creak in the floorboards or a rustle in the woods, and to scare children into obedience? Or did they serve a more complex purpose, acting as cautionary tales that reinforced social norms, teaching you to be wary of strangers, to respect nature, and to treat others fairly, thereby providing a safe, metaphorical way to discuss the anxieties of a dangerous world. You do not think of their social function. You just know that when you hear a strange sound outside your paper walls at night, your first thought isn't, "It's just the wind." Your first thought is, "I really hope that's the radish-stealing raccoon dog and not the one-eyed demon boy who eats children." It adds a certain spice to your evening. This belief in an unseen world is woven into the fabric of your life. You know which forest paths are said to be haunted, which old wells are best avoided after dark. You might leave a small offering of food on your doorstep at night, a small gesture of appeasement to whatever might be passing by. The fire in the aruri burns low now, the embers glowing like sleepy red eyes. The stories have been told. The shadows in the corners of the room seem deeper, the thin paper walls less of a barrier and more of a translucent veil between you and the night. You will soon retreat to your futon, but you will do so with a mind buzzing with these strange and wonderful creatures. In your world, the darkness is not empty. It is crowded, and it is watching. And as you drift off to sleep, you hope that you have been respectful enough today to ensure that whatever is out there, stays out there. Ghost stories, with their clear, brutal morals, are not just for entertainment. They are a supernatural echo of a very real principle that governs your life. You are not just responsible for yourself. As the fire dies down and you prepare for sleep, you are keenly aware that the greatest dangers of your world are not the fantastical yokai, but the all-too-real consequences of human misbehavior. Your justice system is built not on individual rights, but on collective responsibility. In your village, there is no police force to call. Minor disputes might be settled by the village headman, but any serious crime falls under the jurisdiction of the samurai authorities. And their primary goal is not fairness, it is order. To maintain this order, every household in the village is organized into a gonin gumi, a 5-household group. This group is the fundamental unit of your society, and its members are mutually responsible for the actions of one another. It's the ultimate group project, but instead of a poor grade, the penalty for a lazy teammate could be a public flogging or the confiscation of your only ox. It certainly encourages collaboration. If a member of your gonin gumi fails to pay their taxes, the other 4 households are expected to make up the difference. If a man from a neighboring house gets into a drunken brawl and injures someone, the entire group may be fined. If he commits a serious crime and flees, the group is responsible for tracking him down. This system creates a web of constant, low-level surveillance. Your neighbors watch you, and you watch them. Privacy is not only physically impossible in your paper house, it is socially discouraged. The good of the group is paramount, and the actions of one can bring ruin to all. This principle of collective punishment extends even to your own family. A son's crime can lead to the father's punishment. A husband's treason could mean the execution of his entire family. This ensures that the social pressure to conform, to obey, and to avoid trouble is immense. You spend a lot of your time hoping your neighbor's rebellious son doesn't suddenly decide to pursue a career in crime. His bad choices could become your very bad day with astonishing speed. When a crime is committed and a suspect is caught, the process is swift. For serious offenses, a confession is considered essential for a conviction. However, the authorities assume that a truly guilty person will not confess willingly. Therefore, torture, known as gomen, is not seen as a barbaric excess, but as a perfectly legitimate and necessary part of the judicial process. It is a tool used to persuade a suspect to give the required confession. A suspect might be bound tightly with ropes or have heavy stones piled on their legs until they admit their guilt. It is a strange and terrifying logic that a statement given under extreme duress is the only one that can be truly trusted. Legal historians and sociologists still debate the primary goal of this justice system. Was it truly about discovering guilt and innocence on an individual basis? Or was its main purpose the maintenance of absolute social order, using swift, public, and often brutal punishment as a form of social theater designed to terrify the population into obedience, with the concept of individual justice being a distant, secondary concern? The punishments themselves are designed to be a powerful deterrent. For minor crimes, a public shaming or a painful beating with a bamboo rod might suffice. A more serious punishment is banishment from the village. In a world where you have no identity outside your community, being cast out is often a slow death sentence. For the most serious crimes, like arson or murder, the penalty is execution, often carried out in a public space for all to see. Lying on your futon, you listen to the soft, rhythmic breathing of your sleeping family. You feel a profound sense of protectiveness, understanding that the greatest threat to their safety may not be a demon in the woods or a samurai on the road, but the simple possibility of a single foolish act. Your world is a fragile ecosystem of shared responsibility, where one stone thrown into the pond can create ripples that drown everyone. You close your eyes, hoping for a quiet night, and a quiet, uneventful day to follow. The quiet, uneventful days do follow, one after another, turning into weeks and then months. The rhythm of your life is the rhythm of the seasons, predictable and contained within the small, green world of your valley. But once or twice a year, that rhythm is broken. Today is one of those days. You must accompany your father on a journey to the castle town, the seat of the regional lord, the daimyo, to deliver a portion of the special tax paid not in rice, but in woven hemp cloth that your family produces during the winter months. The journey takes most of the morning, walking at a steady pace on the main road that is little more than a wide, well-trodden dirt track. As you travel, the traffic increases. You are passed by merchants with carts drawn by oxen, by porters carrying impossibly large loads on their backs, and by a wandering Buddhist monk with a begging bowl and a serene expression. Then, you see it. Rising above the trees on a great stone base is the castle itself. Its white walls and gracefully curved, tiled roofs seem to touch the clouds. It is a symbol of power so immense and distant from your own life that it might as well be a mountain. As you enter the town itself, your senses are overwhelmed. The quiet of your village is replaced by a cacophony of sounds, the clanging of a blacksmith's hammer, the rumble of cartwheels, the shouts of vendors, and the constant hum of hundreds of conversations. The air, which at home smells of earth and green things, here smells of charcoal smoke, cooking food, dust, and the unpleasant, sharp tang of the open drainage ditches that line the narrow streets. In your village, you know everyone. Here, you see more faces in 10 minutes than you will see in a year at home. And you don't know a single one. It is both thrilling and terrifying. You make your way through the Chonin Maki, the sprawling district of the artisans and merchants. The streets are a chaotic maze, lined with open-fronted shops. You see a weaver throwing a shuttle back and forth on a great wooden loom, a potter's hands expertly shaping a spinning lump of clay, a woodworker carving an intricate design. You pass shops selling things you can barely imagine owning, gleaming steel knives, delicate paper fans, brilliant red silks, and gleaming black lacquerware. You see a beautiful ceramic bowl that probably costs more than your family will earn in a year. You realize it's designed to hold a single, artfully arranged flower. You use one bowl for everything from rice to soup to washing your face. It's clear you've entered a different economic universe. Rising above the sea of low roofs are tall, wooden watchtowers. These are the Hinomiyagora, the fire-watching towers. Fire is the single greatest terror of city life. With every building made of wood, paper, and thatch, a single stray spark could consume the entire town in a matter of hours. A watchman is stationed in that tower day and night, his job to scan the horizon for the first wisp of smoke and sound the alarm bell, directing the town's firefighters to the blaze. It is a constant, visible reminder of how fragile this bustling world truly is. Historians of culture still debate the extent to which this vibrant town person, or chonin, culture was truly independent. Was it a unique, bottom-up culture created by the merchants and artisans, with its own values centered on wealth, pleasure, and new art forms like kabuki theater? Or was it always living in the shadow of the dominant samurai culture, constantly trying to imitate its aesthetics and appease its rulers, never truly free to develop entirely on its own terms? After delivering your cloth to a stern samurai official at a warehouse near the castle gates, you and your father have a short time to yourselves. You buy a simple lunch of noodles from a street vendor and eat while watching the river of humanity flow by. You feel like you've landed on a different planet, one where everyone is in a hurry and no one pays attention to the clouds. As dusk begins to settle, you leave the city, its noise and smells slowly receding behind you. You look back at the great castle, its roofs catching the last rays of the sun. The trip was overwhelming, an assault on the senses, but it has shown you the wider world that your rice, your labor, and your taxes support. You feel a sense of profound relief as you turn towards the familiar, quiet darkness of your own valley. The memory of the town, with its noise and its rush, stays with you for days. But it's the glimpses of beauty you saw there, a single, perfect ceramic bowl in a shop window, a beautifully calligraphed sign, the elegant simplicity of a samurai's kimono, that truly puzzle and intrigue you. They hint at another world, one that runs parallel to your life of mud and toil. It is a world of quiet, deliberate art, governed by an aesthetic completely alien to your own practical existence. This aesthetic, which influences so much of the high culture of your time, is sometimes called wabi-sabi. There are no simple words for it, but it is a way of seeing the world that finds beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It is not the beauty of a brand new, perfectly symmetrical pot, but the beauty of an old, moss-covered stone. It is not the beauty of 1,000 vibrant roses, but the beauty of a single, bare branch against a gray winter sky. You have heard tales of the tea ceremony, the chado, practiced by Zen monks and high-ranking samurai. It is not about quenching thirst. It is a slow, deeply spiritual ritual. In a small, rustic tea house with simple tatami floors, the host performs a series of precise, graceful movements. The sound of the water heating in an iron kettle, the whisking of the powdered green tea, or matcha, with a bamboo whisk, the respectful presentation of a simple, unadorned tea bowl. Every element is part of a meditation on harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. A samurai might spend a fortune on a tea bowl that is famous for being slightly lopsided or having a crack in its glaze. You drink from a bowl that is lopsided because your uncle is not a very good potter. You suspect you may have accidentally achieved a state of high art without even trying. You see this same philosophy in other arts. A master of flower arranging, ikebana, does not simply fill a vase with a riot of color. They might select just 2 or 3 elements, a single camellia branch, a spray of pine needles, a blade of grass, and arrange them in a way that emphasizes the line, the form, and the empty space around them. The space is as important as the flowers. You look at a patch of wildflowers and see a possible garnish for your evening stew. The master of ikebana sees a profound statement on the transient nature of existence. It's all about marketing. Then there is the art of inkwash painting, sumi-e. Using only black ink, water, and a simple brush, an artist will paint a landscape, a mountain, a boat on a misty lake, with the fewest possible strokes. The goal is not to create a perfect, detailed copy of reality, but to capture the spirit of the scene. The unpainted white paper is not empty. It is the mist, the water, the sky. It is as vital as the ink itself. Perhaps the most perfect expression of this worldview is the art of kintsugi. If a treasured tea bowl is dropped and shatters, it is not thrown away. It is painstakingly repaired. The pieces are glued back together with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The cracks are not hidden. They are highlighted in brilliant gold, becoming the most beautiful feature of the piece. The philosophy is that the object's history, including its damage and repair, is part of its story and should be celebrated, not concealed. The bowl is more beautiful for having been broken. The idea is a revelation to you. Usually, when your pot breaks, it just becomes a collection of smaller, less useful pots. Art historians and philosophers still debate the origins of this wabi-sabi aesthetic. Was it a conscious philosophical rejection of the opulent, perfectly symmetrical art of Tang Dynasty China, developed by Zen monks to express their core values of humility and impermanence? Or was it a more organic evolution, a way of finding virtue and beauty in the resource-scarce reality of Japanese life, elevating the rustic and the simple because that was what was most available? You don't know the philosophy. You only know what you see. These quiet arts feel like they belong to the world of priests and samurai, a world with the time and wealth for such things. Yet, as you sit on your own ngawa, watching a single raindrop trace a path down a bamboo leaf, you feel a quiet, nameless sense of beauty. You don't have a word for it, but you understand that even in your simple, hard world, it is there. That feeling of a world apart is reinforced by something much more immediate than art. You look down at the clothes on your back. The memory of the vibrant, flowing silks you saw on the merchants and samurai in the castle town is still fresh in your mind. It stands in stark, vivid contrast to the garment you are wearing now. Your clothing is not a fashion statement. It is a declaration of your class, a uniform of labor woven from hardship and necessity. Your main garment is a simple wrap-fronted robe, the ancestor of what would become the modern kimono. But it is not made of silk. It is made of hemp or perhaps a coarse, durable cotton. The fabric is stiff, and it scratches your skin until it is softened by years of wear and washing. It has the rough texture of a burlap sack and the gentle softness of a welcome mat. It's not designed for comfort, it's designed to withstand the snag of branches, the abrasion of dirt, and the endless cycle of being soaked in paddy water and dried in the sun. Its color is the drab, brownish gray of the undyed plant fibers, or perhaps it has been dyed a deep, serviceable indigo blue, one of the few cheap and readily available dyes. It is a garment built to endure, not to impress. By contrast, the clothing of the samurai class is a different language altogether. Their robes are made of silk, a fabric so light and smooth that it seems to float. Silk holds dye in a way your hemp fabric never could, resulting in brilliant crimsons, deep purples, and rich greens. These robes are often adorned with intricate patterns, delicate cherry blossoms, majestic cranes, or the bold geometric pattern of the samurai's family crest, his mon. A samurai's kimono is a billboard announcing his wealth, his taste, and his lineage. So vital is this distinction that there are often strict sumptuary laws in place. These are rules, dictated by the government, that forbid commoners like you from wearing silk or certain bright colors, even if you could somehow afford to. The visual hierarchy must be maintained at all times. Your footwear tells a similar story. On your feet are waraji, simple sandals woven from rice straw. They are functional, they provide some protection from stones, and when they wear out, which they do quickly, you can simply sit down and weave yourself a new pair in half an hour. They are the footwear of the earth, disposable and humble. In town, you saw people wearing geta, raised wooden clogs held to the foot with a cloth thong. The distinctive clack 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 of geta on a hard-packed street announces the arrival of someone who is not a farmer. Their purpose is entirely practical, to elevate the wearer and the hem of their expensive silk kimono above the mud, dust, and filth of the street. Yet, in doing so, they have become a status symbol in themselves. You can tell someone's class by the sound of their footsteps. Yours is a soft, earthy scrape. Theirs is a confident, sharp clatter. Historians and sociologists still debate the primary function of the strict sumptuary laws that govern this world. Were they purely about enforcing the rigid social hierarchy, a way to prevent the increasingly wealthy merchant class from visually challenging the authority of the financially struggling samurai? Or did they also serve a deeper economic purpose, intended to curb conspicuous consumption among all classes, promote an official philosophy of thrift, and ensure that strategically important materials like silk were reserved for the ruling elite who represented the state? You don't know the reason for the laws, you just know they are as real as the dirt under your fingernails. As evening falls, you sit on the ingawa, the narrow porch of your house, mending a tear in the knee of your work trousers. You pull a rough thread through the coarse fabric, the movement steady and practiced. This simple, practical act is a summary of your relationship with clothing. It is not an object of beauty to be admired, but a tool to be used, mended, and used again until it finally falls apart. It is another constant, wearable reminder of your place in the great, unchangeable order of things. The threadbare trousers are mended, ready for another season of work. Your life is measured in these small cycles of wear and repair, which are themselves contained within the great, unyielding cycle of the seasons. The back-breaking work in the paddies, the constant, low-level anxiety, the monotonous diet, it would be an unbearable existence without punctuation. And that punctuation comes in the form of matsuri, the seasonal festivals that provide a brief, glorious respite from the everyday grind. These festivals are not frivolous parties, they are a vital part of the social and spiritual calendar, a release valve for the accumulated pressures of your life. Each one is a bright thread woven into the drab fabric of the year. In the spring, after the rice seedlings have been transplanted, your village holds a festival at the local Shinto shrine. You and your family dress in your best, cleanest clothes. You walk together to the shrine, passing under the great torii gate that separates the ordinary world from the sacred. There, you will make a small offering and pray to the local kami, asking them to nurture the young plants and protect them from pests and floods. It is a day of communal hope, a shared investment in the future. There is no work, only the quiet excitement of a day dedicated to possibility. In the late summer comes Obon, a Buddhist festival for honoring the spirits of your ancestors. You visit the small cemetery where your family members are buried, clearing the weeds from their graves and leaving offerings of food and flowers. In the evening, you light paper lanterns to guide the ancestral spirits back to their homes for their annual visit. The festival often culminates in a dance, the Bon Odori. The whole village gathers in an open space. A simple wooden platform, a yagura, is erected in the center for the musicians and singers. As the flute plays a haunting, repetitive melody and the great taiko drum beats a steady rhythm, you and your neighbors form a great circle, dancing simple, prescribed steps around the platform. The movements are easy to follow, and soon everyone, old and young, is moving as one under the soft glow of the paper lanterns. It is a hypnotic, unifying experience, a dance that connects the living with the dead. But the greatest festival of all is the Autumn Harvest Festival. The rice has been cut, the Lord's tax has been taken, and what is left is yours. A palpable sense of relief and joy fills the village. This festival is often loud, boisterous, and fueled by a generous amount of sake. The highlight is the parading of the makoshi, a portable shrine. It is an ornate, miniature version of the main shrine, often lacquered and gilded. The village kami is believed to enter the makoshi for the duration of the festival. Then, the young men of the village, including you, hoist the heavy shrine onto their shoulders and carry it through the village streets, chanting, "Wishoi! Wishoi!" in a rhythmic shout. The jostling and shouting are said to invigorate the kami and spread its blessings and protection throughout the community. It is the most sacred duty of the year, and also the most likely to result in a pulled-back muscle. You are literally carrying your god on your shoulders, and he is surprisingly heavy. Anthropologists and sociologists still debate the primary purpose of these often raucous matsuri. Were they essentially a form of social control, a state-sanctioned release valve that allowed the peasantry to blow off steam in a controlled environment to prevent more serious forms of unrest? Or were they genuinely organic, community-led expressions of folk belief and solidarity that existed largely independent of the ruling class's agenda? For you, the theory doesn't matter. The experience does. For 360 days a year, you are a sober, hard-working farmer. For the few days of the Harvest Festival, you are a sake-fueled dancing machine who is best friends with everyone. You eat your fill of sticky rice cakes, mochi, and perhaps even a piece of precious grilled fish. It's a brief, glorious time when the rules are slightly relaxed. You might even see a samurai crack a smile. It's a terrifying and confusing sight, but you appreciate the effort. When the festival ends, and the last of the sake is gone, you are left with a headache, a full belly, and a renewed spirit, ready to face the quiet months of winter. The last festival is a fading memory, and the quiet months of winter have settled over the valley. The days are short, and the work has moved indoors. The air is cold and still. The sun sets early, a brief slash of orange and purple behind the mountains, and then the world is surrendered to a profound and complete darkness. This is the time of night, the long, quiet end of the day. Inside your small farmhouse, a tiny bubble of light and life holds back the immense, silent dark. The only illumination comes from the glowing embers of the aurori hearth and perhaps a single anden, a simple lamp made of a paper screen stretched over a wooden frame, with a wick burning in a dish of rapeseed oil. It gives off a warm, but very dim, flickering light that makes the shadows in the corners of the room dance and sway. It is just enough light to see the faces of your family as you huddle together, performing the last small tasks of the evening. You might be weaving a new pair of straw sandals, the waraji that wear out so quickly. Your mother might be mending a garment. Your father might simply be staring into the fire, lost in thought. The sounds of the night are different from the sounds of the day. The rhythmic clang and swish of work is gone. Now, you hear the soft crackle and pop of the embers, the wind whispering and occasionally rattling the wooden storm shutters, the distant hoot of an owl. It is a quiet, intimate soundscape, the sound of a world at rest. As the hour grows late, it is time to prepare for sleep. Your father carefully banks the fire in the aurori, covering the hot coals with a thick layer of ash. This will keep the embers alive until morning, a precious saving of effort and fuel. You and your brother slide the heavy wooden shutters, the amato, along their tracks, closing off the paper shoji from the outside world. The sound is a heavy, reassuring thud. The house is now a sealed wooden box, a small, fragile fortress against the cold and the spirits of the night. From the oshir, the storage cupboard, you pull out the futons and lay them on the tatami mats. Your pillow, your makora, is not a soft bag of feathers. It may be a simple sack filled with rice husks that rustle as you move, or it might even be a block of wood, carved with a gentle curve to support your neck. These hard pillows were originally designed to protect the elaborate hairstyles of the nobility from being crushed during sleep, But the tradition of a firm support for the head has trickled down even to a simple farmhouse like yours. You lie down, pulling the heavy quilt over you. The house is silent now, save for the soft breathing of your family around you. You think about the nature of sleep itself. Historians and sleep researchers still debate the sleep patterns of the pre-industrial world. Evidence suggests many people practiced segmented sleep, where they would sleep for a few hours, wake in the middle of the night for an hour or so to think, talk, or pray, and then enter a second sleep until morning. Perhaps this is your pattern, too. A quiet, watchful period in the dead of night, a time for thoughts to drift before sleep reclaims you. For now, you are simply tired. The day, with all its toil and small moments, is over. You are warm, you are safe inside the wooden shutters, and your family is all around you. In this small, fragile bubble of peace, you let your thoughts begin to drift, your body sinking into the thin mattress, your mind letting go of the world. And now, as the farmer's day comes to its final, quiet close, our journey together ends as well. The image of the small house, with its glowing paper lantern, fades into the darkness of the valley. The sounds of the night, the wind in the pines and the crackle of the last ember, soften and dissolve into silence. The story is over. The toil and the beauty, the hardship and the honor of that distant world are all put to rest. All that remains is the here and now. The soft comfort of your own bed, the gentle weight of your own blanket. There are no fields to tend to in the morning, no samurai to bow to. There is only this moment, this quiet, this slow and easy drift into your own well-deserved sleep. Let the last thoughts fade. Let the darkness be a comfort. Word count, 1401. End of script. Sweet dreams.